Hi everyone, it's April. Oh my god. Hi everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Marissa. Hi and welcome to the live stream. And I hope you can hear me today. Hope everything is working out. So this is the first live stream we're gonna have for April this year. I am a journalist, a freelance journalist, a book editor, and I also write books. And I run live streams 3 times a week for 2 hours a day, where people can come and work on whatever they're working on while I write my crime fiction book. So this is the first one for April. For this week, it's going to be today, Mondays, and then Wednesday, 8 a.m. and Thursday, 11 a.m. Melbourne time, which is where I'm based. I'm based in Melbourne, Australia. And if you want to read the crime fiction that I'm writing, I have a Patreon, and it's patreon.com/MARISA. And yeah, for $1 or $2 a month, you can subscribe and read my crime fiction as I write it. So about twice a month, you get a new scene. One of the latest scenes I've written, and it's going in chronological order, so you should get everything in a relatively the same order that the book goes in. Yes, it's a great way to just kind of help me while I write my book, and the live streams are meant to help me keep writing. Otherwise, I'll never sit down and make time for it with all the work that I have to do. So I hope you guys had a great Easter. I have been taking some time off every month, just to kind of combat freelancer burnout and various other things and deal with some other stuff. So I didn't have live streams last week. We are going to keep to the Monday, Wednesday, Thursday schedule as much as possible. However, if you follow me on my social media, if you've signed up to my newsletter, if you follow me or subscribe on Patreon, I will have a video or email going out on Friday letting you know what next week's schedule is going to be. And the reason for that is on Thursday evening I'm going to be flying to Sydney, and I'm going to be there till Monday evening, which means I don't know until I get there if I'm going to be able to run a live stream, if the connection is going to work out or anything like that. So I will let you know on Friday, by which point I should know whether I'm going to be able to do it or not. Yeah, so sometimes you see me write by hand in my notebook, and I write my scenes by hand in my notebook, and sometimes you see me type stuff up on my program, which is YWriter6, and it's a free program if you want to download it. It's by Simon Haynes, who wrote the Hell Space Shock series of sort of sci-fi comedy-esque fiction, and I have another book that's currently with an agent right now, and they're reading it to see if they want to represent it. It's literary fiction, so cross my fingers. It got longlisted for an award, so hopefully it's good. I do not know. Yeah, but this is my first crime fiction book that I'm writing. So, oh my god, there's so many things I feel like I need to say today. Yeah, so things are gonna go up and down a bit with scheduling, but that's okay. We could work that out. I am currently at 45,000 words on the crime fiction book. Gin and Tonic is the name of it. So 44,999 words technically, which is why, and it's 50,000 words is when you start considering something the proper novel length. quote marks, because sometimes it's 60,000 and usually I go by 60, but like quote marks. So that's why today's live stream is titled 5001 Words Away from a Novel, an official novel. Length piece. It varies. It really does. But like, it's a very vague kind of thing to aim towards, like a little vague goal to kind of aim towards and help you keep on track and kind of track how you're going. And obviously, this is a very rough first draft, and once it goes into the editing phase and rewriting phase and everything, it's gonna be quite different. And we'll see, what happens, and it gets more simplified or more complicated. Who knows? More or less words. Who knows? Yeah, and that's why I think today, I don't know if I'm gonna be writing today, but I might be planning stuff, planning things like what I'm gonna do. I might talk about some stuff, and like sometimes it's just easy to talk stuff out and try and think and push through some of the moments where you feel a bit stuck with the writing and things, because I am getting to like the last few scenes of the book, and I am it's terrifying. There's a lot of pressure, right? You want to get it right and everything, and you just want to get through it. Hi to Summer State of Mind. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being here and saying hi. I hope it's useful. This whole thing, I'm assuming you're saying thank you for saying Happy Easter. Sorry, it's taken a while to come up with my thing, so I'm always mindful of like what you're responding to. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna be trying to work that out in my head, like what we're gonna think about, or what I'm going to think about with terms of like the next scenes I'm gonna write and how it's gonna work with the plot and everything. I also want to say hi and thanks to Kashi 8B, who I think is, because somebody messaged me earlier this morning and said hi, and this is someone who I have followed and who has followed me on several different platforms. So basically this person is like my oldest internet friend, which is very weird to think about, but so back to story time. This is quite often the kind of story that makes people go, oh, because a lot of people now, when you talk to them about the internet, right, they know the internet as it is now, and they know a vague bit of what it was like a couple of years ago in terms of what's out there, the software that's out there, the social media that's out there, and the apps and things. But I was 16 when like the internet first came to Sri Lanka, which is where I'm from, right? So, and this was early 90s, mid 90s. So I remember MIRC, I remember MSN chat at the rooms, and I remember GeoCities, and what's it called? It was like Home something. It was some weird, it was a weird name, but like Home something, Angel Fire, I remember the start of LiveJournal. I remember the start of fan fiction on the internet as it was, and then dolls and GIFs and all of those things, because I was there for that, and I was a teenager when all that happened. And there was this platform for blogging way before WordPress even started, called Xanga, and xanga.com, and it was a closed community in a way. MySpace as well. So this is way before Facebook. This was like, I think MySpace might have been around, but this was way before like Facebook, Twitter, well, YouTube, all of that, right? So like we're talking 98, right? And YouTube started in 2005. So all of this stuff, and like, you know, Napster was happening, and it took forever to download pictures, and videos was unthinkable, live streaming was unthinkable, you know, all of this stuff was like so far off. So you used a lot of text, quite often like GIFs and things, because they were like, they were small in size, and so you could use GIFs. So you used text, and it was you know, time when cats took over the internet, and you had I Can Has Cheeseburger, you know, and things like that. People learned to code to do fancy things on websites because they couldn't, you know, it's better to use code to show things than to try and wait for people to upload and download images. Like it took forever to load a website if it had too many images on it. And this is during dial-up internet times, like barely anybody had any notion of what broadband was at this stage. And so I was blogging on this platform called Zenga, and it was a closed thing, so people followed you. You had to have an account, which meant you inevitably had to have a blog in order to follow other blog posts. Like you could read them, but if you wanted to comment and everything, you had to have an account to do so. So it ended up being a really wonderful space. Met a lot of really cool, interesting people. Some of them are still Facebook friends in the way where, like, I don't know them. We probably don't have the same values, you know, or anything, but they are my friends list. But this guy is, and I don't want to say his name because I don't know if he'd be happy with being publicly outed as he were to everybody, but like this person and we were Zenga buddies, which is what you call them, and you followed each other, right? And then Zenga shut down eventually, and I moved to WordPress, and I moved instead of to WordPress.com to a self-hosted WordPress. By this point, I had my own website, so. And you can see that website at marisa.com.au, right? But it was previously marisa.lk for a while, but then I got a .com. And still the same website. Like if you go all the way back through the blog, the blog posts on marisa.com.au, you'll find blog posts from back in the day and stuff. So I just moved stuff over, and Zenga was no more. But by that time, we were on Facebook, we were on MySpace, we were on Half-Five, we were on Twitter when it showed up, we were on YouTube when it showed up, and we found each other. It was very weird. So we found each other, but then, you know, I played World of Warcraft, and he popped up on World of Warcraft, and we found each other there. It was really weird. But also, you know, it was lovely. It was really lovely. It was like an old friend, meeting an old friend. And it was so bizarre because we've never met each other in person. We were very much internet friends only. We've never even chatted online, like a face-to-face visual chat. I don't think we've ever had one. We've always been text-based, you know, forum or via Zenga or Facebook Messenger or something like that, and he messaged me on Instagram today, and he's always been really keen to see what I'm doing, which is really lovely. And the reason he's on every platform is because he works in IT, which makes sense, right? And he actually even once sent me a birthday present halfway across the world, and I was like, what? By this point, I had gone to the US and moved away from the US. We never ever got to meet. And it's really, really interesting. I've had internet friends before who I have met in real life, and it's always been very weird and awkward at the start when you meet them in real life, because you're taking away the context in which both of you usually operate in, and you're replacing it with something else, and it's so bizarre and it's so strange, and you have to work it out on both ends, and sometimes you find it easier to be social, right, in a certain way online than you would in real life. And I don't have the problem, but other people do, right? So, and I can understand that. That's fine, you know. And so it's always very awkward meeting the internet friend. Yeah, it's this. It's so it's really lovely. Like he messaged me today on Instagram and said, "Hey, you know, I just saw your video." So I did a video that on Instagram that said, "Hey, these are the times we're going to do live streams this week." And he's like, "Oh, you're live streaming now," and so he's followed me. So hi, Kashi AP. Hi. Oh, you're gonna have to tell me how to say this name. This is not your usual. And I assume this is you. Simply because, yeah, the timing of when you follow me, I assume this is you, which is interesting. You know, thanks for following me. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being such an amazing blast from the past. It's really lovely. It's like it cheers me up. It really does. Like, and I know we don't have much of a relationship, but it's a lovely thing to do to just start and say hi. And since I started live streaming, like somebody totally out of the blue again said hi to me and said hi, like let me help you test the tech, and I was like, oh my god, thanks. What? Again, you don't expect people to pop up out of the blue and say, hi, I'll help you with this. So, hey, how's it going? I'm going to do this, and then fade away into the background again. You know, it's like, yeah, it's very weird, but it's so lovely, and I really do appreciate it. So thank you for being here. But before we do anything, because it's Easter, because I had Easter. I hope you had a great Easter. I hope those of you who wanted to go to church went to church. I hope those of you who had to go to church in order to please relatives went to church and were able to bear it, etc., and all the rest of it. And I hope those who just love chocolate had the chocolate. So this is mine. This is a cream egg. I don't know if you're watching me from outside of Australia, you may not know what a cream egg is. It's chocolate, and then it has on the inside fondant, and the fondant is white, and then there's a yellow colored center, so it looks like an actual inside of an egg, but it tastes very, 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 very sweet. And the yellow bit is a little bit liquidy, so it made it more like fondant icing texture, and more it still is sweet, but it's a bit granier in texture. It's just the texture. It's the most delicious thing ever. And the funniest thing is, like, when you open, they have a caramel version as well, which I don't like. I don't like the caramel version. It starts becoming way too sweet for me. It's caramel version. So this is what it looks like. So cream eggs. This is an Aussie thing. I don't know if they have it anywhere else in the world, and they only come out at around Easter time, and they're usually a little bit bigger. They're like this, like a normal egg size. So these are minis, and the reason they've done minis in this is basically because this is a normal chocolate egg. There's nothing on the inside. It's just chocolate, and then and they just have packaged them together. So, yeah. So I thought we should have. I'm gonna open the mini one first, just to show people. Never know what to do. And now I have to. I'm gonna actually break it open. In a way, I'm trying to break it open in a way that helps. Okay, so because these are minis, I don't know if you see the color, but you can see the white fondant and the yellow bit in the middle, yellowish bit in the middle is a bit more liquidy. The chocolate fondant and then the yellow bit, and it's all sweet, so it tastes nice. Very sweet. Very sweet. Oh my god. I love cream eggs, right? I rate these mini ones not so great because it's the ratio of chocolate fondant to whatever they call it in the middle bit, sweet syrup, whatever ish thing. It all works together to balance. Like nothing is too overly sweet, nothing is too jarring. It works, but I don't like. I think it's better when you have the actual egg size version because you get more of the fondant and you can get to enjoy the texture of it a bit more. It's really nice. But you can only have about one or two of the egg size ones at a time. You can't have more because it's just it's too much. Way too much. It's not like if this actual chocolate egg thing, it's just chocolate, I can just eat that, but and keep eating that sort of thing. But the stuff inside is so rich, you can't, when the stuff is sort of filling inside, you can't continue. You really can't. Oh, and if I'm biting or chewing or speaking a bit weird, it's because I have had some dental work done and I'm still recovering. I'm gonna sound very strange for a lot of things. So, happy Easter. Icky cheers. Chocolate cheers. So this is Cadbury, of course, usual sort of logo. This is an omelette. So I don't know how much this cost, but probably was like 20-30 Aussie dollars because let's see on here. My partner bought me and I would have just been happy with one of these, to be honest. I didn't really need a cream egg. Like I said, I love having those small ones, but I don't need a lot of them either. And because you can only get them at around Easter time, I get very excited when I see them. And I think sometimes people think that excitement means I want to have them all the time. Oh no. Chocolate bunny. What the heck is that thing? Howdy. Hi, spontaneous. Oh my god, how did I mute myself? Okay, thanks for saying hi. Hi, spontaneous, and thank you for following. You're awesome. Hi, Amadillo. What the heck is that thing? This is not a chocolate bunny. It is. I think I know what it is if it's too much reverb on the mic. I had just pulled this up. Is it better? Well, probably not. Any better now? The problem with this sort of headset, this is the second one of these headsets I've had, because my cat tends to sit on the damn microphone and play with it, and then everything gets bent out of shape. This is not a chocolate bunny, this is chocolate egg. Plain chocolate egg. Too close, getting some reverb. Pretty loud. Yeah, I have lowered the volume. Is that better? Blaming the cat shameful. No, it's true. She does play with the microphone. She likes to sit on my chair. Yeah. But I don't have the best setup in the world as well. It's just a hollow shell. Very chatty today. Can I ask why only one hand is fingernails painted? Because I only wanted to paint one hand. Also because I need to redo them. They're not done that well. Or rather, they're not that they're not done that well, but it's just time to redo them because they're chipped, and I just didn't bother to. I had a week off last week, and I was like, I can't be bothered. Much. Like, I'll do them when I want to, you know. And also I've smashed this fingernail. So in any case, even if I had done my hands, you would see this one unpainted and they'd be like, why isn't that one painted? So I don't do stuff in the way other people do that. I don't know what. Yeah. I didn't want to. No, I really didn't. I mean, like, I do a lot, and so sometimes people do look at me and go, "Why haven't you done that?" And they think it's so normal that people do X thing, and then I haven't done X because, frankly, my day is so busy. I haven't had 5 minutes to sit down and think of doing X. That moment I have 5 minutes to sit down, I'm just like, yeah. Well, I enjoy having chats to people on Twitch and everything. They're asking me about my life. Very interesting. You get to know a lot about how people think and stuff. But hi, Amadino. Thanks for all your questions. Keep them coming so I can keep saying things. It's awesome. I don't mind. So like I said, I'm trying to work out, I was planning my week. It's gonna be a hectic week. I'm not looking forward to it. Can I show you guys what I have to do? I'm gonna show you guys what I have to do, okay? Not just like writing my book, but like other stuff. So, is this my first novel? No, it is. I don't know if you can call it my second. I don't think you can call it my second. I have another novel that's a literary fiction novel that is with an agent right now. And I had a book published when I was 17, but it was a collection of poetry and short fiction, so you can't call it a novel, but it was a book. So, this huge I will show you in a minute. Yeah. Prodigy. Nah. I wrote a lot as a hobby. I don't think any of it was pretty good. It's pretty cringy. I firmly believe that you have to write the cringe out. Somebody wanted to publish it and they printed it, and woohoo. Can we find the book on Amazon? No, I think it's out of print. And you wouldn't want to read it anyway. It's like cringy teenage angst. Please. Why would you? I'm trying to see, because I might have a copy up here to show you. that's my book. It's very bad. Okay, nobody needs to make up your leaves so crass. You can't feel. It's really bad. Look at that. This is what happened because LiveJournal happened after I was a teenager. That's what the problem was. Like I missed LiveJournal by this much in terms of timing. Yeah, look at the back of it. That's me at 17. Which way am I looking? Oh, looking this way. Maybe something. Yeah. So we printed this and I got I was a finalist for a literary prize at the time. I didn't win, and to be honest, I don't think I should have won. There were, from what I do remember of the other finalists, there were people who deserved to win, like, you know, they'd written really good stuff. So I was quite happy to have just been there and everything, but I wrote as a hobby, and someone saying, my mom said, hey, let's do something with this. I was like, okay. You know, I was just writing for myself and just to kind of get my thoughts out of my head, just so that I wanted to get my thoughts out of my head and onto paper, so I had space to think about the things I needed to think about, right? And that was pretty much why I wrote at the time. And and I was writing like something that was 400 pages long, but I didn't want to print that, so I said, you can have my poems and my short stories, I don't want to print this other thing. And I've never printed that other thing because it was very cringy, and it was a way of me learning how fiction worked and learning how to write stories, like longer stories. And I really needed to practice that, and even at the time I knew none of this is really cohesive in a big narrative form, so it's never going to get published, but I'm going to work out all my stupid ideas through it because I think it's brilliant, and then I write it and then I read it and go, well, no, it's not. Oh my god. So, anyway, back to this thing. This huge book. Yes, the only way to do it is practice, definitely. So this huge thing is, I'm trying to find a good page to show you. This is what a book looks like when it comes to the proofreading. So I work as a book editor. If I'm doing book edits, I usually work in Microsoft Word on the computer and use track changes. But if I'm doing proofreading, it's often a lot better to just, I'm trying to move stuff out of the way so I don't get chocolate on things. Right, it's far better to actually have it printed out like this, and then what happens is you make marks with a pencil or red pen. In the text where you need to change something, so say you have to insert something, there's a particular proofreading mark for that, and then you write, well, not in the middle here, but you write in the margins like what it is that needs to change, just to, because usually you underline it or you circle it or something, and then you need to tell them in the margins what exactly the change is. And so when you proofread, usually all the changes that need to be made have been made by the editor and the author, and it's back and forth. And as a proofreader, you're just double checking. It's like a double check for all of that sort of stuff. Yeah, and so I do proofreading work as well, and I freelance. So basically, a publisher sent me this in PDF form, and I had to go print it out, and I have to now sit and do that. So I'm going to be doing that during this week, because I have to hustle to do it before Thursday evening when I have to fly to Sydney, because I can't take this with me to Sydney. I don't want to bend it or anything like that, so I want to be very careful with it. So I want to do a lot of it this week as well. So this is why I say I don't have time. It does go faster when I proofread on paper than when I edit sometimes in Word, because occupational hazard. No, actually not with this. If it was a smaller size, yeah, maybe. But when you proofread, is it always a certain genre? Or could you get any sort of book, like a biography one day, romance novel the next? I'm up for any genre. But some people specialize. Definitely, some people do specialize. Like, so even in editing, some people specialize. So Elements ends on Twitch live streams, and I think she live streams same time, 11 a.m. 4 days a week, and she gets permission, and you can watch her edit sci-fi and speculative fiction books if you're into that. I don't know if she's currently doing it. She might have taken a bit of a break, but she's pretty cool. Yeah, so like some people specialize in particular things because they know the genre and they know what's expected in the genre, know all the ins and outs. I am happy to take on any genre of work, and it's the same with proofreading. I proofread. If you can pay me, I'll work. So that's what I have to do this week. You can follow both of us. It wouldn't matter. But thanks. Like, you're shrimping already. But thanks for following. Pretty awesome. So yeah, that's part of what I have to do today. Then I have to write a cycling story as well, which is proving to be a bit difficult. It's always very annoying when you're a journal and you're trying to write a story and your sources won't get back to you. Like, please respond quickly. And then your editor's like, where's your story? I've written half of it, so I would really like to finish the other half. Write it down. Oh, that's hilarious. Thank you. Thanks a lot. And you wanted to see my agenda, so I will show you my agenda for this week in my very spidery handwriting. This is my planner, which is pretty cool. And then yeah, from 9 a.m. onwards. So what? So 9 a.m. because you won't be able to read my handwriting. I'm not going to put it up very close to the 9 a.m. write a story. Yeah, there isn't much incentive for them to move. 11 a.m. live stream, 1 p.m. lunch. That's today. 2 p.m. proofread the book. 4 p.m. pitching. By pitching I mean pitching stories to various outlets. Like you have to come up with story ideas. You have to then research them, do a little bit of the legwork, and then you have to write pitches and send them off to places. So you're always doing a little bit of research. The way I explain it to some people, like I have an academic friend, I guess they would call themselves an academic, and we were talking about it, and I was trying to explain my work to them, and then they finally, oh my god, it's like a proposal, isn't it? I was like, yeah, it's not structured formally as a proposal. You often just send an email, but yeah, you do all this like research to say, this is what I'm going to write about, and this is who I'm going to interview, and this is why I think it's important, why it fits, etc. You don't often get a yes back. You try, hope to get a yes, and I have to send 5 to 7 of those every week. It takes some time. So yeah, it's frustrating because then you have to also balance your time so that you have time to actually do the stories that get yeses back on, and that means time interview people, time writing. Then sometimes that has to shift around because, as I say, if sources don't get back to you, that kind of puts your whole schedule out. It's sort of like a proposal, but it's a pitch. But yeah, it doesn't have to be as long. I do get up earlier, but I start my workday at 9, and I do that on purpose. And I would wake up much earlier and try to do live streaming much earlier. Like on Wednesdays, it's at 8 because I've got meetings and other things during the rest of the day. So yeah, no, I am trying to keep it like 9 to 5 as much as possible, because otherwise I will go over that amount very easily, and it's not very good for me. And I'm also trying to maintain those boundaries because I also am volunteering as a union rep / delegate, and I am the Victorian president for my union's media section. And I tend to have a lot of meetings and stuff like that, and I tend to give a lot of my time for that, but I don't then balance it with enough time to look after myself. And like I said earlier, that's the reason why the fingernails aren't done. That's the reason why other things don't get done, because I am running around trying to do all of this stuff, and running myself ragged into the ground as well. So yeah, so pitching, and after pitching I go for a walk, and that kind of supposed to bookend my day, I suppose. And then again tomorrow it's 9 a.m. proofread book, 11 a.m. write a story, 1 p.m. lunch, 2 p.m. proofread, 4 p.m. pitching. It sounds very boring, right? But then at 6 p.m. I've got a meeting, and then I have to rush out the door for trivia, which is really good. I enjoy trivia nights. 8 a.m. live streaming, 10 a.m. podcasts stuff, 11 a.m. pitching, and 12 p.m. proofread, 1 p.m. lunch. So the 11 a.m. pitching brainstorm, that's actually a meeting with like a bunch of fellow freelance journals, and we get together and we brainstorm and help each other brainstorm ideas and places to send ideas to and stuff. 2 p.m. blog posting, and then I've got mentoring. I do mentoring for people, and I help them with their business and their goals and stuff. And so I have a mentee to talk to at 3. 4 p.m. pitching, yeah. And like, I do a lot of my mentoring meetups on Fridays, so I have another one on Fridays. But otherwise, it looks pretty much the same. A lot of my accounts and admin is done on Fridays. I also submitted news, so there's an organization in Victoria that is doing COVID news updates, basically. And how shall I explain this? So we have a lot of different communities in Victoria, like of all sorts of different backgrounds and ethnicities and heritages and stuff. And so there's a lot of languages spoken. And in order to get the news out to them, there's this one organization that they organized a bunch of writers and sub-editors to get together, and they write a radio bulletin in the morning. Somebody sub-edits it, and then it goes off to producers, who then translate it and produce an audio version that goes out to all the different community radio stations that broadcast in different languages. So then everybody we write it in English, but they translate it into whatever language they know they need. So they get a schedule of sorts from all the different radio stations that want to be part of this, and say, okay, we're going to run this every day, or we're only going to run it on particular days. So then they know, okay, this day is Arabic and Mandarin, and that day is Cantonese and Hindi, and that day is, and so on, so forth. But I do the sub-editing on Friday mornings, which is really fun. And I'm really enjoying that. And it's nice. It's nice to feel like you're doing something useful. Yeah, I am a union girl. Of course, I am a union. Where do you find time for family and all of this? That's the other issue. Yeah, that's the thing, right? So if I'm not careful, I go way over time, and then so this room is technically the second bedroom in the place we live, but it's my office, and I can shut the door, and it's very easy then for me to put the door, say, okay, like I got work to do, bye. Shut the door till I'm in here, and then you don't realize it at the time, but you end up doing all these late days, constantly working, and before you know it, then you haven't spent time with your partner really. And I'm lucky at the moment I don't have an extended family with me. I just have my partner and my cat. And I talk to my mom and my sister at a regular set time every week because they don't live where I live. So one is in one state and one is in another country. So we've kind of organized a catch up time. But yeah, I'm very lucky that I don't have to worry about more immediate family members. But it is important, like I have to make time to catch up with friends, right? So we have a regular trivia night on Tuesdays, and I'm trying at the moment to create a regular time to catch up with my best friend because I live now in Melbourne and she's in Perth. And she has a ever-changing roster, so we can't set up at the moment a regular time to chat and deal with time zone differences and things like that. I have relatives in the States, for example, and we have to coordinate Zoom calls that work for them in the States and the relatives in Sri Lanka and then the relatives in Australia. Oh, it's so bizarre, it's so weird. Somebody has to be up at a really weird time for all of that to happen. So yeah, it's not quite regular. That's more when anybody has a birthday or something like that. But yeah, it's hard to manage. Very hard to manage. Especially when your closest friends are not with you. I'm very lucky that I'm going to be able to see one of my friends when I go to Sydney, and I hopefully have time to catch up with them. But then again, they are a doctor, they're a medical professional, right? And they work shift work, so I have to see them when they have in between auditions and things. And yeah, just trying to make it all work. Very difficult. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a union girl. Well, I'm a union person. I identify as non-binary, so I'm a union person, and I have been pretty much since I started working in Australia, which was around about 2008. Yeah, to me, you just join your relevant union. It's just something you do when you start working. And I joined, and I see it as a duty to my colleagues. So yeah, like I work by myself, but I see other freelancers as my colleagues. They're not my competition. Like people often get that wrong as well. When you're talking about freelance editors and freelance journals as we call them in Australia. Yeah, they think that we're in competition with each other, which sort of, yes, but also no. We all write very different things. We all have, I think we'll all do a different take on issues and stuff, and we all really like supporting each other because I think you feel it more when you're freelance because you're by yourself and you need the camaraderie sometimes, and you miss that. And so a lot of my work life is sometimes spent online, digitally, just talking to other freelancers. And so I see it as a duty to my colleagues, like a duty of care to my colleagues to watch out for stuff and to watch out for their interests and stuff. And that means joining the union and working on campaigns and stuff, because at the moment in Australia, freelancers cannot collectively bargain as a group, which is frustrating because it means a race to the bottom in terms of the rates that we get paid, and it gives the companies a lot of power because they only often have to deal with one individual at a time instead of dealing with like a group of us saying, hey, you need to treat us all equally and you need to treat us all better, and better pay and better conditions and better rates and all of that. And a lot of it's so bizarre to me as well. Like, there are lots of businesses who come up to you and say, yeah, I can't afford to pay a writer right now because we're just starting up. And at that point I say, look, you shouldn't be in business if you can't pay all your costs. Your writer's wages are a cost. If you can't pay all your costs, you're not a viable business, and you shouldn't be in business until you've got the capital for that, so go find the capital first. Start as you mean to go on. Otherwise you put yourself in this position of practice where you continually are cutting something out of your costs and you're not able to do business ethically and properly, and possibly breaking all sorts of weird regulations as well, so yeah. But people ask people to write for free, or write for quite very little money. So I write a story. If I write a feature piece on, I don't know, cycling, and I get paid $200, but it's taken me weeks to find sources to interview for it because people are taking forever to get back to you. I have to say to myself, okay, my time is worth so much and I can only afford to spend X many hours on this story. It's this trade-off then between the quality that you get. And that's why people say, pay per word and pay a decent amount per word. And we're trying to push for somewhere closer to $1 per word in Australia, because otherwise it doesn't work for us. $200 is nothing when your monthly rent is $600 to $800 if you're lucky. It's not. It's like 1 week's worth of rent. Big deal. You also have to pay for all this other stuff, and you don't get anyone else contributing to your superannuation or your pension, or what people would call in the States your 401k or your retirement fund. We have to contribute to that ourselves. So we have to find the money to do that. And to do it at not that 9% or 12% is so you have this automatic thing in. If you work in-house in Australia for a company full-time, then people have to pay you 9% into your super for you. So you get your salary, your salary for the year, and 9% of that amount is paid, like on top, is paid into your super. So you don't say it goes directly into your super or your 401k or your retirement fund or whatever you want to call it. We call it super here. But if you are a freelancer, you're not able to get that. There's some weird grey. It's very vague in the way it's worded, so it causes a lot of confusion, but something along the lines of, if you earn more than $450 a month from client, then they have to pay you super. But it's very weirdly vague worded, and it's very vague, so you often have to go ask for guidance on whether that applies to you or not. And sometimes apparently it doesn't. Something to do with whether only you can provide the service, so it's really bizarre, very weird. So yeah, you have to then find the money to pay yourself for retirement, and that's hard enough to do as it is. But then you realize, wait, I have to beat inflation, so I have to pay 15%. So not just the 9%, not just government. If you work for government, you get 12%. I wish. Oh it's I'm glad I could teach you something. You went to us as a scam. You crossed the picket line. That's great. Cross the picket line. These Indian guys love me. Yeah, of course we will. I don't like people saying, like, I've had some people who have joined the union because people have called them a scab and stuff, and I say, look, join the union if you can afford to. That's the other thing. We talk about diversity, and there's a lot of people who don't get work because they're diverse, and that may not be a problem as much of a problem in other countries as it is in Australia. Oh my god, in Australia it's such a problem. And because they can't get work, because they're overlooked for promotions, and it's harder to get work, it's harder to get promoted, it's harder to be treated respectfully and stuff. They're often paid less as well. So like they have less money and all of that, and so there's a lot of people who are underemployed and unemployed who are diverse, right, or from marginalized backgrounds. And so for an issue of access, I often say to people, don't put yourself in dire straits just to pay membership fees for a union, right? So like, I'm not going to shame you into joining the union because I want you to make sure you've got the basics first. Like, I want to make sure you've got a roof over your head and you've got food to eat, and you're okay. When COVID happened, my union is the union that has the journalists, has the actors, has the film and TV crew, and has the musicians. So when COVID hit and we had to go into massive major lockdowns, all our members were Sunday out of work, and we had to have this fee waiver situation. Oh my god, it was amazing. It was so funny because we had some in-house employees in the media section, and like they were the only people who could pay their fees. Oh my god. That working house is argument. Oh, congrats! Congrats to you and your wife. Well, depends on the union in question because, like, I don't know a lot about the ins and outs of the other unions. You hear stories, so I know stuff about my union. It's already complicated enough because we've got 4 different sections in my union. So one for the journalists, one for the actors, one for the crew, one for the musicians, and yeah, it's. So we had this fee waiver thing, and like I was so happy because it allowed a lot of diverse people to finally get a leg into, like, become part of the union, and to get services like help and assistance and stuff. And so I was happy about that. But I'm so mindful of the fact that a lot of people don't have the money for membership, and each union works differently in how it organizes membership stuff and payment. And people seem to think that, and like, I can see why it's easy to think this, right? You learn a lot about one union and you think, oh, that applies across the board, and it doesn't. Like, the structure of one union is very different to the structure of another. Payment system is different too. What they can pay for can sometimes is different, sometimes it's similar, it depends. Yeah, I probably have to stop and explain to people like why our union is structured the way it is and why it's different for other people. The membership fee thing, for example, like there is National Workers Union, or United Voice. United Voice is amazing, amazing union. I really do appreciate them and what they do, because they have some of the people who are like, fighting for better pay, like really struggling and fighting for better pay, and they really do a very good job of like making sure that people can afford to be part of the union. And I would like to see my union push to do similar things and to be better. Yeah, that's a very common thing. People are very like confused by that, because there are a lot of people doing what people call trades, right? Trade work, and they look down on trade work, and they think, oh, it's not professional work or whatever. And I'm like, it requires a skill set. Like, what's wrong with you? It's hard work, and they get paid very well in Australia, and I think that's partly because the unions have fought for that previously, historically. But yeah, like sometimes the unions get it wrong. Sometimes some systems don't work in some contexts. You have to treat everybody on the shop floor the same. Otherwise, it's just, you're not just going to get the buy-in. How would you set up like something that separates people into two groups and then says, okay, it says you guys get this, but you guys don't, because you're not that same group or whatever. That's always going to cause bad blood, right? That's always you can't set up an us versus them system, right? I mean, I get very tired of people talking about us versus them in terms of management as well, because quite often, like, the editor at a newspaper is not necessarily the one making the decisions. I mean, think back in the day when unions were started, maybe because they were all like one papers, like they were one company, one business. But now they're all part of the same business. They're massive monopolies. Somebody all the way at the top is sending instructions down, and the poor editor is just like the next level up from you, and he's like, I don't have a lot of power to change anything. I have to follow orders. Like, it makes it difficult. But then they're the ones you have to negotiate with, but then they're getting pressure from management above them, so it's a little bit frustrating. And I've said it to people before that a lot of the union systems were created for working class white people in the 1800s, and we are now in 2000 something, and we have a far more diverse workforce. We have people who are not just in trades, they're in professions. We have this weird thing called the gig economy happening that nobody seems to fully understand or get their head around about, like, okay, what's going to happen in the future, all these sorts of things. We've got different types of work and different types of regulations, all sorts of things we have to think about that they never considered back in the day. And so we can't apply the same ideas within the union system to what's happening now. We have to change how we operate a union. So I get really tired of like people going comrades at each other, and I'm like, can you not? Like, that has to change as well. You've got people like me who come from particular backgrounds of like civil war and stuff, where people took ideas of communism and Marxism and socialism, right? Like political ideas. And it means something different to us when you say comrade. So like it's one thing to say comrade when you are all white and you're all working class and you share that same struggle. Yes, you're comrades. But when more diverse people come into it, and when you've got all these people from different backgrounds and so on in this more diverse workforce struggling together or whatever, yes, you're struggling together, but like you can't just comrade by each other. Like, it's just, you're equating the struggle, and you can't equate the struggle. You have to understand that there are nuances and intersections, and it's always going to be harder for First Nations people, because that's a system we live with. It's systemic, it's embedded, and we created a union system that was also based on that and took in that and only cared about white people for so long and not about First Nations people. So like, you know, you can't combat by them. They'll be like, people do say it though. They say it out of habit. They say it at the rallies. It's like supposed to be helping people to bond and stuff. It's just, I understand the thinking behind it, but I also have a quiet giggle to myself. Like, well, it depends on the mood. Sometimes when I'm at the rallies, if the mood I'm in is big, like, look, I've had a hard day. I'm just like, but like parts of the union is really fun. Like, I'm glad that the union people loved you. Yeah, it is funny, isn't it, that they make like so much. Like, I know people who trained as doctors and so on, and they decided to spend a couple of years driving trucks for the mining industry because they could make 100,000 a year, and they could make more, like, you know, than they would if they were like a lawyer or a doctor or whatever at the time. And so they went off and did that for X many years, paid off mortgages, bought houses, did all those things, and then maybe went back to a different career. I was like, yeah, I should have gotten a trucking license. I would have driven trucks. I really should have got a trucking license. I wouldn't know how. I wouldn't have had a clue how I would have swung that. But maybe I should have. I probably should try it now, actually. They want to get more women into trucking. This is another thing. Like, my partner is a journalist as well, but he's actually, right now, his actual job is editor of 2 magazines, Farms and Farm Machinery and Earth Movers Equipment. And he in the same company, they do the magazines for trucking, for other forms of heavy transport and logistics and that sort of stuff. It's very based on people. The people who read those magazines are farmers or people interested in trucking and so on. And, you know, I've written a few bits and pieces for some of the editors. Like, I wrote 1,000 words on engine oil, because you have to write 1,000 words on engine oil. Yeah, like, I was very interested in the mechanics of it, in the chemistry of engine oil. But anyway, yeah, they're thinking about how they want to teach people how to do various aspects of transport and trucking and logistics and everything, but they want more women to come into the trucking industry and to be driving. I mean, it would have been a fun thing, I think, later on to write about, like, your adventures trucking up and down the Nullarbor in Australia, which is the massive big desert in between, for anybody who doesn't know what that is. Yeah, I've driven the Nullarbor in a car on a learner's license in a car. That's I love a bit of adventure like that. I find it fun to drive. I enjoy driving. I don't know if I would have made a good trucker. I don't know if it's very different to drive a truck than it is to drive a car, but like, who knows? You know, I might have really enjoyed it. It would be very interesting. And I'm just trying to scroll up so I can make sure I see all your messages. Yeah. Yeah, it's unfair, but like sometimes like that happens. Like that did happen a little bit, even within the union. Like the people who had been in the union for a long time were a bit like at the start a little bit hesitant to let the newcomers have a say. And you just think to yourself, if that's reflected in the union itself, when we're just talking about like campaigning and whatever to do, we're not about talking about actually been out and working in the industry yet, then imagine what it is like in the industry, because there are a lot of old-timers who don't want to change things, you know, and think in a particular way, and I've definitely come across examples of that as well. It's very, very, very difficult. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't think people, this you said something along the lines of people's views on collectivism are only relative to the standard of living lyrics. Yes, yes, because if you live in a bubble, then you assume everybody else has the, people tend to assume everyone else has the same experience they do, and it's not the case. Like, I knew that growing up in Sri Lanka. I'm a very privileged person, right? I have a level of privilege, and I come from upper middle class background, but I also knew people did not live like me. And I would see a lot, I see now a lot of my peers, the way you think, the peers is in the people I grew up with, going to school, kind of, that sort of subset. I would have had to work with them. Part of the reason I don't want to work in Sri Lanka is if I go back, things are going to work out in a particular way where I would have to work with them, and I don't want to. I love you guys, but like you know, I feel like it would be a massive struggle to constantly explain to them why I think the way I do, and they would treat me as weird for doing that. It would just make my life miserable. But yeah, like, people, I don't think people realize, like, you know, for example, like, some workers were protesting because they had not been paid, and as a result of the protest there were a couple of traffic jams, as you do, right? I was more worried for their general health and well-being because they're protesting in a regime where they might get for protesting. But my peers were complaining that they were caught up in the traffic jams, and they were like, you should be glad that you get free education, you should be grateful, why the hell do you have to go protest? Completely missing the point that these poor people, A, don't get paid a lot as it is, and B, had not been paid for months. So I was like, how the hell are you surviving? That's my first thought. But my peers, some of my peers, some, not all, but some of my peers did not see it that way. And I was just like, what? Huh? Yeah, people, if you live in a bubble, and like, I've had that experience of having to tell people that not everybody lives like them. People get shocked by how much I earn. Like, I can tell you, I earn 10,000 a year, and that's not a lot in Australian dollars to live on, but you know, somehow I manage. I have a little bit of savings that I can fall back on, so that's great, that's me. From a lot of people's perspective, like, I was talking to another friend of mine about that, and she said, you know, a lot of people look at you and think you're successful because the average amount a writer will make in Australia after writing is 12,000, and you're hitting 10,000, so people think you must be very successful. I'm like, I'm saying 10,000 overall, not even, forget the writing part of it. Most of that 10,000 comes from editing, but I take your point. She's like, the rest of us are just trying to get by, you know, we're on Centrelink, or which is welfare, or where, you know, so much of the arts community is like that. They're like stuck, not being able to earn. And you go tell someone for whom, you know, if they earn 60,000 a year, it's poverty for them. And you go tell someone you earn 10,000, just, you know, they're so short. And you're like, there are people worse off than me, mate. Imagine if you had a family. And I'm like, yeah, it's below minimum wage, because I think it works out minimum wage is like what? Just between 20 and 30-ish. I don't know. I'm probably getting it wrong. But somewhere between 20 and 40-ish thousand a year is probably minimum wage, right? I'm under the tax-free threshold. Like, I could try my best to earn more, but I am at the mercy of a lot of editors, and right now during COVID, a lot of them don't have budgets because the higher ups have told them to cut the freelance budgets and somehow still fill the pages regardless. So yeah, I mean, they themselves know it's stupid, but then they don't have where they're gonna find the money to give us if accounts and management are not okay in it. It's always interesting, like your idea of what poverty is definitely changes as you move through the world. And that's why I'm grateful for all the experiences I've had, even if they've been tough ones, you know. And that's why I'm also like always willing to say, like, yeah, look, I'm privileged, I'm lucky, there are things I fall back on, there are things I can use, this knowledge I have that maybe other people don't, you know, or there's this, I've had past opportunity and time to build up to a particular skill level, but perhaps, you know, whereas maybe other people don't have that in their arsenal of weapons to use, I guess. Definitely traveling, yes, traveling helps. There's poverty in all sorts of places, I think. Yeah, I also have those moments. Like sometimes people here in Australia talk about press freedom, and I'm like, my editor was assassinated to come and talk to me about press freedom when you've got something to say about that, you know, like, so my editor was assassinated in 2009. Oh my god, I'm being muted. Did you tell me I was muted? Oh, sorry, I might have just muted myself. So yeah, I do roll my eyes a little bit when people talk about press freedom because my editor was assassinated in 2009. And there are 26 plus journalists in Sri Lanka that have been disappeared or have died under mysterious circumstances. There have been people assaulted and raped and tortured. And I think it's traumatic, definitely, to be raided. It's awful to go through things. And press freedom definitely is an issue in Australia with like a lot of the laws and the way they are trying to gain control over who can say what and who gets access to what, and freedom of information. They're all very important things and I stand by them. But there's a whole other level that I've seen elsewhere in the world of press freedom issues. So sometimes the reaction is like, oh, you know, do you want to roll your eyes a little bit? But at the same time, you have to also say, this is people's genuine fear and experience, and this might be, you know, this is just the very tip of what could happen, but at the same time, you don't want to wish it on anyone else, that, you know, they have it worse or that they get assassinated or anything like that. You don't want to wish that on people, and you don't want to wish that the industry go through that. But I do feel sometimes it feels like people won't listen, and it sometimes feels like they have to go through it before they listen and understand, and you don't even want to get to that point. You just want people to realize. And that's not to say, like, I'm not saying, I don't think people should be quiet about these things because they have it better than journals might have it elsewhere. That's not the point. But I think having some perspective, maybe. But I think it's also important. People are victims of press freedom issues. You have to listen to them where they are at. So I try to rein it in, you know, It's very hard. You have to have empathy for everybody in that situation. But you're fighting against your own biases there. It's difficult. Jack Kerouac of the Outback. I'm sure there's somebody already who's been Jack Kerouac of the Outback. I don't like Jack Kerouac, but I get your point. Yeah. To write that kind of piece. It would be a very interesting read. There's a book that Don't Tell My Mom. My mom thinks I'm a piano player in a whorehouse, but really I'm a trucker or something. Is there a book along those lines? Oh no, I so I'm gonna read the comment out of context, so no idea how the heck you're managing on that, but I will say this: you've adapted on the way on that salary to survive. I was on Centrelink on welfare for before I got to 10K, and then I moved to Melbourne. The welfare system is really weird. When I moved to Melbourne, I had to go and change up my details with them, right? And I said, look, I've moved in with a partner, I've moved states. They kept insisting that I needed to go attend meetings in Perth. So you have to have a meeting with your job service provider. My job service provider in Perth had shut down anyway, so you couldn't go to them even if you were. But I was like, I'm not flying back and forth every 2 weeks to go see my job service provider, so I decided to leave Centrelink because I could just see this becoming a drama. Because I went to them and said, can you change it? They said, talk to job service. I went to talk to job service people. I called them and I said, can you change it? And I'd done everything properly in terms of moving over and changing everything and telling people. But it didn't work out, so I just thought, no, I'm gonna leave. And then I started earning to around about 10K. Now I'm trying to get beyond that. So we see. Who knows? Yay! But Jenny, I just a short. It's so stupid. It's bureaucracy. But at the same time, some bureaucracy. Oh my god. It's so funny. I'm talking to a friend of mine and we were having this chat about how we wish. I can't tell you the specifics of it, but I'm in the middle of something, another project of mine that I'm kind of working on, which is outside of my work, but a very important project. It's like a community-based thing, and I think it's going to be useful going forward for the industry. So I'm involved in that, and another friend of mine is involved in another project, and we are both coming to massive issues with each of these projects. And so we were just talking about these issues, and basically a lot of these issues are the fact that our roles in them are limited, but there were other people responsible for governance and oversight, and they're not doing the right thing, and just trying to get them to do the right thing. It's just so hard, and by not doing the right thing, they're breaking regulations and things like that. So, and a lot of it is ignorance, and a lot of it is just them wanting to do what they want to do, And so my friend and I were talking about both of us having to deal with this particular sort of issue, and we were just at the point of like, we never thought we'd be the kind of people who would say we stand bureaucracy. But at this point it's just like, why didn't you just follow this very simple guideline, this very simple regulation, why? Why? Oh, good luck with video conference call. I'm sure you'll be able to understand your Japanese colleagues. I have faith in you. Yeah, I'm here Wednesdays 8 a.m. and Thursdays 11 a.m. So I'll see you next week. Not sure because I'll be in Sydney and I have to go see what the internet connection is like there, like over where I will be staying first to see if I can manage a live stream. But I will be sending an update out on Friday about that if people are on Patreon or on my newsletter or on my social media. They can find me there. So it's patreon.com/MARISA. 1S, 1R. And you can read my book there if you want. That's a couple of dollars a sub. But you can follow me on Twitter as well. Well, probably going to be hard. M Vikramanayake, MW. I can type it in the chat. It's also somewhere on my Twitch page. Hopefully you come by at some point and catch you as well. It'd be lovely to chat to you. I have got no writing done, so you've been a huge distraction. But I'd love to talk more about the union, and I'm happy to answer questions about the union as well for people who want to know. But yeah, now I need to figure out what I'm going to do. But thank you for dropping by today. It's been fun. I have half an hour now to figure out how I'm going to do things today. Put the plan stuff. Yeah. But I hope you have a great day with your conference call. Good luck with it. Be fun. What time is it in Tokyo right now? Like 2, 3 in the afternoon. They've just finished a whole bunch of holidays, haven't they? Cherry blossom time, I think. Isn't it springtime there? I think cherry blossom time in Japan. It's so pretty. What am I going to do? Are my characters going to behave themselves today? Don't know. See, I can't really remember what the last thing was that I typed up. I think I typed up everything except that I was halfway through the middle of this one thing. Yeah, so I'm at this point where the inspector person in this book is talking about motives. I know the motive. And this is the thing, like when you write crime fiction, you have to work backwards. So you know what's going to happen. And then you have to write it so that people can figure it out, but also not figure it out too soon. You know, so I'm working on, I've read a lot of crime fiction. I'm a massive crime fiction fan. But I am working out, and I've edited crime fiction. But all of that is a very different kettle of fish to actually writing and everything and learning how to structure it and everything. So I'm kind of learning as I go. And trying to determine when is the best time to let someone know about something and let the reader know about something and let characters find out. Because at the same time, one thing I've noticed in crime fiction is if you do it in a certain, you have to be careful how you do it because you don't want to have it seem like you're assuming your reader is dumb because you're over explaining things, or you're like letting them know things at a particular point. And the same thing with the characters. Like, I don't want the characters to come across like they can't put two and two together and come up with one. That's, yeah. Because people are smarter than that in real life. I want it to be realistic. So sometimes that means the time frame of the whole book has to be much shorter because people figure things out faster. But then sometimes that makes it really weird to get all the action into that time frame. So like my current time frame with this is a couple of weeks. And I tried to kind of artificially put a time frame in for the book that is about a month, because like the inspector has to wrap up and report on it within a month. And now I'm thinking that might have to be shorter. And all of this might be moot entirely because like one of the things I want to do is have some of my friends read it so that they can tell me if I'm writing something daft in terms of a plot thing or a storyline or something like that as well, because like I said before, I come from an upper middle class background and I'm gonna have my own biases and I need to be aware of them. But I mean, I might also be unaware of some of them, like I need to catch them before I put something out into the world that gives anybody a reason to think that those biases should continue, especially if they're harmful ones, you know. So, or just ones that make you very blinkered to other people's experiences of life. So, I am trying to. I'm constantly thinking of, okay, there's probably constantly questions like, oh, can I write about this? Not so much can I write about this, but like, does this make sense? You know, like, it's like, and it's very weird because I can see that there's a particular readership that might not care. You know, as in, like, they would happily take. There was a version of this that I wrote, that I started out with, right, and I quickly scratched it. But like, I can see that a lot of readers would have happily gone with that version because it fit their idea and their bubble, right? And I didn't want to do that. I was like, that's me needing to get that nonsense out of my head. I got it out of my head and I need to write better. I need to do better. So I'm gonna, you know, that's a stereotype. I'm not leaning into that. I'm not doing that. That's stupid. So now I am trying to work out what to do next. Dropping chocolate everywhere. So that's why I'm constantly questioning my plot as I go. Like, it works, but like, So I don't know. I don't know what is in. Some of it might be just second guessing myself. Maybe it's okay to write, but I don't know. I think it's an important part of the process to keep asking yourself these questions. It keeps you. I don't know. Like, I'm not going to say all this. It's a very journalism way of putting it, but I'm very big on duty of care. So, like, want to maintain a duty of care to my readers and the people I write about. So I want to question my writing, and it makes things twice as difficult. Yes, and a lot of people mistake that for a lack of self-confidence. Like, no, it's not about self-confidence. It's about wanting to do the best job you can ethically in things, in everything that you can do. And I think that's like a very selfish conceit, because like that's the kind of person I want to be. But then you see that in everything is selfish, right? Like, you want to be a certain kind of person, and that's what drives you to do things. You want to be a gamer, so you game because you enjoy it, right? You want to be a writer, so you write. And I want to be making ethical decisions in everything I do, because I don't like unnecessarily harming others. And I don't want to be the kind of person. I want to be the kind of person who thinks about these things. That's what I do. I mean, it's annoying. I grant you that takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of your time. You have to think twice about things. You have to be very cautious and careful. And you can't please everybody. So that's also true. You can't please everyone. So you have to know when to step back and when to say, this is something I'm not going to do, because it dehumanizes people if I do it. And that's not fair. But that's not who I am. People have asked me before why I refuse to do particular things when it would be very good for me individually to do it. So, because I can't live with myself. Because I would feel it would do more harm to do them. And it's sometimes very small things as well, I'm not trying to be a saint by any means at all to anyone. But I'm also very aware that, like, people watch people and they learn people from people and they're inspired by people. And so the way I carry myself in the world is also going to be important. There's a sense of pressure. And maybe it's pressure I put upon myself, which is fine, but this is who I am and how I am, I guess. I don't know why we're getting all deep and meaningful and I'm on my voice. But long story short, I'm trying to work out this damn plot. What do I write next? Ah. So I'm just reading the scene I last wrote right now. Okay, she replied, sitting back down. I wanted to apologize. You were trying to help, and you have helped. You may have saved his life. She looked down and shook her head. You don't know that, Inspector Jams. They found traces and he had no symptoms when we took him in. I know. That is why it is helpful. She looked up at him, puzzled. It means that you caught it before it exited the system, and if you hadn't, we may have never known about any poisoning. He continued, and we would have never known that attempted murder was also occurring, and that we know now roughly when it would have happened. She blinked as she tried to process everything. A smile spread across her face. He was poisoned the day of the robbery, and not since then. He nodded. And only one person has been out of that household since the day of the robbery. No, she stood up defiantly. She is not the culprit, Inspector. He held up his hands. I'm not saying that she is. But if nothing has happened since her leaving, then she is involved somehow. I need to know if anyone is using her in any way. She sat back down, a bit wary. Inspector, I can't stop you from dragging her out of here. You certainly have enough to suspect her, but she has no motive here. He grimaced. It is all very frustrating. None of it makes any sense at all. No one really has a motive to kill Suresh. Wait, what did you say? I said no one has a motive to kill Suresh. Is he the only person who drinks gin and tonics in the house? No, he grinned. Mrs. Jaggoty does too. So it could be her that the killer was aiming for. Again, a motive? He shrugged. Selvi's sister confirmed that she was stealing from Suresh, but that doesn't seem enough for them or for Suresh to want to kill her. Are you saying it is possible Suresh poisoned himself because he was trying to kill his aunt? That seems very stupid. Exactly. This is why none of it makes any sense. Which is where I've stopped. It'll make sense. It's just I don't know whether I want them to realize exactly what is going on right now. They're kind of going around in circles, trying to work it out. Do I want people to realize now? I do not know. I think they're going to realize something because Selby, the girl, is going to tell Inspector Jan something that, to her is very, very small. She doesn't even realize that it has anything to do with what's happening. But, like, to him, it's like a aha moment. I've got 10 minutes before lunch to fuck this up. Brain works so much. Sometimes so much of work is like brain thinking work, and more like, I would just like to have a skilled trade, please. Something to do with my hands. People seem like you get better with practice, yes, like you stop making silly mistakes and you stop, like, well, some silly mistakes you stop making. And, you gain a little bit more confidence and you kind of get an eye for what's a cheesy idea and what isn't. Style, you develop a voice of your own, like that people can go, aha, that's so and so's writing. But some things will always be difficult. I think this is my third book I'm writing. I think it'll always be difficult. I got carried away when I was thinking about my stupid book. Because now it's when the computer decides to act up and open things. Stop it. Behave. It's not a fear of writing the wrong thing. I don't want it to be a fear of writing the wrong thing. I should be able to write the wrong thing if it's but it's gonna be a pain in the neck. Won't lie, it'll be a pain in the neck if I write something that I have to then fix. But such is the nature of anything. Like, I don't know if it'll be different with the book that I took less time to write. I took 12 years to write my first book because I had to do it in between everything else and trying to survive. And by the time someone came back with like some comments to change some things, etc., right, I was so sick of it. I wasn't like, not the book itself or the characters, but like sick of working on it. You just get sick of working on it. So I'm hoping that by the time this is done, that I don't get sick of working on it, and that I'm able to do the rewrites and the edits that I need to. I've started writing a little bit. I'll see if I can write at least a page or something today and then go from there. What kind of mark? So I'm currently going to call it quits. So thank you to sponsoring this is probably Kachi HP, Kachi Kachi 8 Pi P, Kachi Atapi. I don't know how to say this. Kachi 8PY to spontaneous. I love the name Spontaneous, and Armadillo, and thank you to Chris from the States who is following me on Twitch now. Thank you for being here. I have managed to write from about here to about here, which is all of probably 250 words, but that gets us over the 45,000 word mark. Yay! And I have to go have lunch, and then I get to do proofing. Thanks. Thank you for being here, and thank you for subbing and following and doing all the amazing things. If you want to read this book, patreon.com/Marisa, MARISA, and you can sub for $1 or $2 a month and read the book. It's gonna be a very rough, messy first draft. You're going to have blanks for people's names because I haven't come up with the characters' names. I'm just getting everything out of my head. But yeah, you can give me comments on whether you think whether you can figure it out or not, if it's easy, if it's too hard to figure out what's going on, all of that sort of stuff. Definitely give me your feedback and follow me. I put my Twitter channel in the chat, so you can always tweet at me, and you can follow me on Twitter for like the updates and stuff. I also have a newsletter, and you can find that on my website at marisa.com.au. So marisa.com.au. And if you follow me on socials, or follow me on Patreon, or follow me on the mailing list, then you will get updates of what the schedule is going to be each week for the live streams, because it might vary week to week depending on what I have on. And especially next week on Friday, I will know if I can manage to do a proper live stream. And obviously it won't be this camera because I'm not packing up all the equipment and taking it with me to Sydney, so it might just be the laptop one. That might not be great. That will be another issue we have to look out for. It might not work as well because it's going to be on a laptop, so I don't know how we're going to do it, but we'll see. We'll try it out and we'll see what we can do. So I will test it, and I will let people know on Friday whether next Monday's live stream is going to happen. And how we go with things. So you can follow me on all of those things to find out. And I will see you Wednesday at 8 in the morning. Bye.